Johnny 5 is alive.
I feel alive.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am in fact not dead. Yes, I've seen some of the comments, and I apologize if you were worried about my disappearance. Judging by the way that I look, you would probably guess that I've been trapped alone on an island for the last 4 months. Hypothetically speaking, this would be somewhat true. So that's what today's video is going to be about: the journey back from a mentally dark island of solidarity, depression, loss of a loved one, leading up to a mentally fatigued mind, which resulted in my 4 months absence. This video is something I feel very anxious about because, generally speaking, I tend to think it's my responsibility as a YouTuber and entertainer to create positive and entertaining content for you all to enjoy, rather than express something that could have the opposite effect. But I do think it's good to share stories, because there's always something you can take from it to better improve yourself for the future. So if you have ever experienced being in a dark place from the loss of a loved one, suffered from severe depression or social anxiety, like I have and will explain in this video here today, I at least to come out of this revealing that things will get better, so long as you can find a way to channel that darkness back into the light. So my intentions today in this video are to explain the events leading up to my 4-month disappearance and possibly help you find a way back from a dark place if you so happen to find yourself in one. So every story has a beginning, and for the sake of keeping this video digestible and avoid telling my entire life story, I think a good starting point would be roughly 4 years ago. I was 29 years old. I'd been working in the game and film industry for nearly a decade. I was living in a rundown outskirt city outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. Long story short, I found myself extremely depressed in my content state of being just another cog in the wheel for a massive conglomerate. Nearly a decade of bouncing around from studio to studio as a contractor or subcontractor, giving half my pay to another corporation, wasn't exactly the creative dream I sought out when indebting myself with a $30,000 student loan. Sure, at times I got to fulfill my creative desires and accomplishments working on amazing movies and video games, which for some people seems like a dream come true. When you're left making barely enough money to pay the bills, no benefits, no certainty of growth, no future or career in sight as a result of your hard work, you're left with a feeling of regret that you've invested time and money all for nothing, leading to a heavy feeling of depression. So when I eventually had my breaking point, I was working at Electronic Arts Canada. I could say many good things about working there, but ultimately the situation that I was in wasn't exactly a fair one, which led me to a mental breakdown. So the one important thing that I did is I went and saw a doctor. I sought out help after months of this was occurring, and it was time to figure something out. And I was deemed clinically depressed. They pulled me out of my job, put me on medication, assigned me to group therapy, and while here in Canada we're fortunate enough to get some sick leave benefits for a few months, it wasn't enough to cover the costs to survive. I was forced to give up my apartment and move back to my mother's house where I grew up. So here I was, 29 years old, on medication, going to group therapy, no apartment, no proper income, and back to my mom's house where all my dreams of a future originated. I felt like a complete failure. The last 10 years since graduating high school, college, moving out of the house in search of a dream and a future, working as a game developer, to only land back where I started to start all over again with a plan B. It felt like a complete waste. So after several months of group therapy, weaning myself off the medication, I started to climb my way back looking for a solution to utilize my experience and knowledge again, and I found a job working from home for a small indie company that did game art for the Unreal Engine. This honestly ended up being the best job I ever had in the game industry. Working closely with like-minded individuals doing vast assortment of different tasks really utilized my broader range of my skills and talents. Eventually, they tasked me with making teaser trailers and presentations for their YouTube channel. So this is where the seed was planted for the channel you all know today. I was animating cameras, making cinematic presentations, uploading videos which were bringing in thousands of views, and I got a taste of reading comments on YouTube for all the work that I had done, and I fell in love with it. So going into 2016, I started my own hobby channel called Channel 5 Gaming. This was extremely difficult for me because I do have social anxiety, and coming out of depression, I lacked both confidence and self-esteem. But the group therapy taught me to battle our weaknesses. We must tackle the things we fear. And I feared people seeing my lack of confidence, self-esteem, and it added weight to that social anxiety. So it was really hard to get started on YouTube for me, but it was something that I really wanted to do. So I strongly believed that I could overcome the anxiety and grow some confidence and self-esteem, creating positive content that people would enjoy, which in the long run sort of turned out to be true. I mean, I still have social anxiety. I'm anxious about making this video here today. I'm anxious with every video I upload, to be honest. So while I look back at my first videos today and I cringe,
what is going on, my fellow gamers and artists alike? Johnny5 Alive here, and it's that time again.
what I see is a weaker version of myself trying to overcome something, and because of that, I leave it there as a reminder of how far I've come. But the brutal truth and nature of YouTube is it's not really easy to make a big splash, especially if you're not ready for it. You need to go all in. And I was sort of dipping my toes in, still fearing to take big leaps, or I just didn't have the time or energy to take it a step further while I was also working for this company. So after about 5 months of daily uploads on YouTube, I felt like I was giving it everything that I had, but I wasn't seeing any results. Only 250 subscribers from over a couple hundred videos. So to look at it realistically, I was pouring every extra minute I had available into something that wasn't going anywhere. So in May 2016, when I turned 30 years old, I decided to hang up my hat on the YouTube idea for at least just a little while. It was something that gave me a lot of joy, and I was frustrated with myself that I couldn't even make a small splash in the time that I invested. But the reality of YouTube is there are over 2 billion channels created thus far, and only 20,000 of them have exceeded the 100,000 subscriber limit. So that's the odds of 0.0001% or something. The odds are just about as bad as becoming a UFC champion at this point. But I still couldn't help but feel defeated because I really did give it my best effort. But in the back of my mind, I kind of knew I wasn't done. I really did enjoy it. I just needed to let it rest a while and come back to it with a new game plan. So a few months passed, I was still enjoying my job, the extra free time without the extra grind of YouTube after work. It was all great, but I couldn't help but feel depressed deep down inside because my future with this company was still uncertain, my channel was not going anywhere, and my mom's wondering, when are you gonna figure out a stable future for yourself? The pressure was building to another breaking point. Then the company I was working for decided to restructure their efforts into new endeavors. The two owners split ways, and that meant they had let go of all their employees, which left me out of a job at a point where I was most uncertain yet again. So now I'm back to square one all over again, feeling like I failed at YouTube, lost my job, still at home. The same cycle repeats itself. Will I ever find something that works for me, I wonder? Then my mom sits me down for a serious talk, one which I thought would be about my shortcomings and constant life struggles and failures. But this was much more serious than that. She told me she had cancer. Just when you think life can't get any worse, the absolute worst thing happens. My mom was my bedrock. She raised me as a single parent. She helped me fight through the darkest of times, and she was my best friend and biggest believer. So I was devastated. All I've ever wanted in my life was to show that all the struggles we went through was so that I could be one day successful and return the favor to her. All my efforts to succeed were to make her proud, and now my window to do that has just been put on an uncertain timer of death. She said to me, I think you're a positive person who energizes people, and I believe you can find a way to bring that to light with the YouTube thing that you are doing. You're happy when you're doing it, and it made me happy to see you do it. You shine the brightest when helping others, and you just need to find a way to be successful doing it, and I think YouTube can help you get there. She really believed it, so much that she convinced me to believe it too. There was no time to be depressed anymore. No time to feel sorry for myself or worry about my uncertain future. I had about 6 months before I ran out of savings to live, and I would be forced to go work a regular 9 to 5 at a local company in the town. This was it, do or die, nothing to lose. One thing I learned from group therapy, they told me I have an all or nothing personality. I needed to learn how to both balance that but also use it as a tool. So this was my time to go all in. A gear switched in me that day. I had no idea if my mom would be able to fight the cancer off, if surgery would be successful, or worst case scenario, how long she had left to live. But I had to prepare for the worst. The only thing that mattered to me from this moment onward was to have my mother leave this world knowing I was successful enough to take care of myself for once. I didn't want her to die worrying. She spent her whole life worrying about her children, and all I ever wanted was to return the favor and let her live a life without worry. So I went back to the drawing board. I looked at my YouTube analytics to see if I have done anything right. And to my surprise, XCOM 2 mod spotlights were popping off. Thousands of views, and I wasn't even aware of it. People liked my mod spotlights. Then I stumbled across Planet Coaster trailer. While you could probably put the pieces together yourself from here, I still need to iterate my love for world building, level design, and all the last 10 years I had spent in the game industry. I looked at Planet Coaster and fell in love. I saw a creative sandbox game with never-ending excitement, learning, sharing, and community building. I instantly started visualizing the endless possibilities that this game had to offer, and how my past skills, abilities, creativity, and energy finally had a purpose again. But in order to have the right to cover this game, I had to prove myself first. I spent the first month of Planet Coaster building, creating, and filling my workshop with 4 5-star creations. I was made featured creator, featured in newsletters, featured by other YouTubers like Zerka Plays Games. Things were popping off, and my mom was seeing my enthusiasm grow, and she was becoming proud. My mom and I would spend hours watching other legend Planet Coaster YouTubers to the likes of Silverette and Delay Designer, and I was just a newbie with 200 subscribers, and I looked up to them with a dream and a vision to do something similar. But I wanted to be different. I didn't want to follow the same format of let's builds and tutorials. I wanted to incorporate the decade of art knowledge I acquired from the game industry to put use of it. I wanted to create a community and share knowledge and inspire. Looking at my success with XCOM mod spotlights, that's how I came up with the show you see today. It quickly caught like wildfire, and within my first month of doing spotlights, we hit 1,000 subscribers. We were on our way. But going into 2017, my mom's surgery went poorly. The cancer was spreading, and now it was only a matter of time. She told me to not let this affect my work, and we were going to make our goal of 10,000 subscribers together. So I pushed through so hard. I was working from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed every single day. I only ever stopped working to go spend some time with my mom. Nothing else mattered. I now started to make a little bit of YouTube money to ease the stress of my savings vanishing. It was looking like I could support myself by doing this. And then the YouTube ad boycott hit. And my mom was also on death's door. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was going to lose YouTube and my mother at the same time. So I was panicked, I was desperate, and I did what I hated to do, but I made a video about the ad boycott, essentially begging for support. Johnny 5 Alive here, and I have really bad news for you guys. Channel 5 Gaming is at risk of ending, and I could really use your help from all you amazing supporters. It was the hardest thing I ever done. I don't even like telling about this story. So when I'm in trouble, I usually don't ask for help. But I had no choice. It was that or hang up my hat. And to my surprise, everyone liked my content enough that we raised a few $1,000s. It was enough to get me through the Dark Boycott period. And if not for that video and this community coming through, I would have been forced to get a regular job and hang it all up. I couldn't be grateful enough for the people who stepped up for me in that moment of my life. So thank you once again. Shortly after, my mom reached critical state and was admitted to the local hospital. The cancer was spreading to her organs and brain. She could no longer be at home under the watch of her family and doctor. She needed the care of a hospital, which also meant she would live out the rest of her life there. My last visit with her in the hospital, she asked me if we hit 10... She had asked me if we had hit 10,000 subscribers yet, and I replied, we're at 9,800, Mom. We did it. We were almost there. And she was so proud how far we've come in the short 6 months of doing this together. And several hours later, she passed away. It was then 2 days later on Mother's Day that we actually hit 10,000 subscribers. It was really hard for me, and that's why I never publicly celebrated the 10K. And coincidentally, we reached our goal on the day that is dedicated to mothers. Do you guys hear that frog? Oh my god. Oh my god. What is this frog doing? Well, I guess I got a frog in my video now. He's trying to lighten up the mood. Sorry, this got heavy, guys. So anyways, coincidentally, we hit 10K on Mother's Day. And I can't help but feel that the universe works in mysterious ways. And she's up there somewhere celebrating with me. So if not for her and the catalyst of cancer driving me to work like a madman, the sheer determination and nothing to lose attitude that came from it, I'm not sure if I'd be ever taking that leap back at YouTube. I was defeated in a place of darkness. So if there's one thing that you guys can take from this here today, is that you can channel your darkness into a greater form of light. Sometimes the dark is necessary, and without it, we sit content and idle. So embrace those dark moments because there's something good on the other side. So bringing this all back around, 2 years ago, my mom passed. And why am I only now suddenly having a mental breakdown? Well, shortly after she passed, it was chaos. My entire life changed around me. But all I could focus on was the YouTube content. If I stopped for even a moment, I would get extremely depressed. Her dying wish was that I'd not let this affect my momentum. So I became almost obsessed with working, and that was my way of grieving my loss. It was a complete obsession takeover, and to a point where it was a sickness. So a few months later, I actually went out of the house for once and I met a girl, and suddenly my void was filled a little bit. I learned how to create some sort of a balanced life and ease up on work for once. And it was only about this time last year when we eventually broke up, simply because of having different interests and maybe we weren't exactly a good match. However, for me, it didn't bother me that she didn't like video games or creative stuff, because I really enjoyed being able to separate the two worlds and have a change of pace. So for me, it was good for that period of time, and it kept me feeling balanced. So ever since this time last year when we broke up, I slowly started to crumble apart due to the fact that I lost my mom, filled the void with another loved one, lost her, and now I had to return to filling the void with work again. And working harder only works when you're backed in a corner like I originally was. The saying is, those who only focus on work are failures in all other aspects of life. I quickly became even more obsessed than before, thinking I could fill the void of missing loved ones in my life with nice YouTube comments and videos. So I upped the ante. I added in more games, more Discord servers, more content across the board, was trying new things, attracting more people. And suddenly I noticed I'm so physically exhausted and not even realizing I've gained at least 50 pounds. I can try to bring up what I looked like at the start of YouTube, a year in, and now. I mean, it really wore me out doing this from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed for essentially 2 to 3 years straight. So I have no charge in my batteries, I'm overweight, and it just hit me like a brick when I got a flu and physically could not upload another video. So the last videos you guys saw from me, I got sick, and then all of this started coming forward. I then realized without YouTube, every single day, I have no one. I have nothing. If I don't go in Discord, if I don't do any of that, I am completely solitary. I am alone. 2 years has gone by so quickly since my mom passed, and here I am still in the same room I started in, yet she left me with her entire house. I was living in a house, but I had never made it my own home. Here I am completely focused on succeeding on YouTube. I completely failed to live a life. So that's where the all or nothing attitude comes back in again. I looked at everything I needed to do in order to achieve a balanced life again, and I broke. I spiraled into depression for a solid 2 months, completely blocking out anyone and everyone, a complete head in the sand, social media detox. The thought of even talking to somebody overwhelmed me. I was lost, but I would still wake up and just burn up my day playing video games, watching Netflix, and just being a depressed potato. I was doing anything and everything to keep my brain thinking about what I had to do in order to create a balanced life again. So I just kept playing games and distracting my mind, and then one day my computer caught on fire. Literally, the freaking power supply exploded and it went up in flames. Not even kidding. Which is kind of ironic because we have an ongoing joke about people's parks that would actually set my computer on fire, and someone even made a coaster about it. Roll the clip. Johnny's flaming computer coaster created by Pudding PDM. So stay tuned and let's check it out. Well, it actually finally happened. Unfortunately, I was playing like Pillars of Eternity or something stupid like that. So anyways, when I lost the computer, I suddenly finally hit with the reality. I didn't need a social media detox. Well, I did, but I really needed a computer detox. I hadn't stopped to smell the roses or look at my life clearly since essentially my mom passed away. So now I had no computer and all the time to start really thinking about restructuring. And then the murmurs of my death started to go through my friends, to my family, to my sister, which she eventually came to me and said, "Johnny, people think you're dead." And that's when I started to realize I can't keep sulking in depression forever. Especially now that I don't even have a computer, I need to find a way to create balance in my life again without using YouTube, work, and video games as a void filler for lost loved ones. I need to rebuild, regain loved ones, and most importantly, watch my health so I don't lose myself. So for the last 2 months since my depression ended, I've been restructuring life again. I've been active online everywhere except for YouTube, my apologies, and I've been turning my house into a home again, cooking for myself instead of ordering in all the time, and I'm starting to exercise again, and I'm feeling healthy again. But the list goes on and on and on, and I'm certainly not 100%. I would say I'm like 60%, but I can't sit idle for long, as I'm not making any money not uploading for 4 months. My savings are tanking, and I just had to work some side jobs to compensate my losses. So I need to learn how to teach myself life is a balance, so I can avoid going through these struggles again. But my all or nothing personality is seriously trouble. In the preparation to return to YouTube this last month, I've completely neglected exercise again. I've stopped working on my nearly finished house goals, and my sleep schedule is getting out of whack again. I see the process starting all over again. But rather than beating myself up about it, I'm talking openly about it instead. I have a problem, a work addiction, computer addiction, a problem of burying my emotions so deep without speaking about it openly that eventually I boil over and explode and fall into depression. So that's what I would like to expose of myself in this video here today, in hopes that it helps me vocalize my issues to a point where I can improve upon them instead of waiting for another 4 months to feel 100% and ready to create content. I would much rather include you all along the way with the journey back of creating a better version of me for you. So I have a bunch of goals in mind, and I'm going to share them openly, such as losing 30 pounds to feel myself again, finish remodeling the house and home, and the overall process and results that a happy, healthy, well-balanced life can bring. But in order to do all this, I need to start moving again and share the fact that I feel like I'm climbing a slippery slope. So I believe we are stronger together than alone, and I need to stop hiding when I feel like I'm slipping into a dark place, because I don't want people to worry about me, what happened to him, and I don't want this to happen again. But I was also really not trained for the series of events that happened over the last years, as well as all the stuff that comes with YouTube, social media. On top of it, it was just a lot of pressure, and I hit a boiling point and I didn't know how to deal with it. But we're dealing with it, we're climbing back, and that's what the journey back is all about. I hope with your help and support, we can find the true Johnny 5 Alive within the best version of me possible, crafted and fine-tuned from the support of this amazing community and wonderful platform that is YouTube. So I just want to take a minute to thank all of you for being here, supporting me through views, comments, Patreon, and I want to apologize for my absence and lack of content. In the future, I will try to seek help before it's too late, but I would much prefer striving for a daily balance to create a better version of me who would not eventually have a mental breakdown. So with all that said, let's all help each other find the best versions of ourselves to make this world a better place. So if you're seeing someone struggling, lend them a helping hand, talk to them, and sometimes just letting them vent is what's going to help them find their own solution. I find talking about this stuff, I come up with my own solution of what I have to do to fix the problem. But sometimes people do need advice. So find somebody that needs help and lend a helping hand. What comes around goes around, and I do believe in karma. So that's going to do it for me here today, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in tomorrow's vlog, where I go over the future of the channel and what content you can expect to see on the show, because I do have a month's worth of content ready to go. So there's going to be a steady flow right after these vlogs, and you can expect to see everything back on track the way it used to be, with a bunch of new improvements to be excited about. All right, everybody, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's vlog. Bye now.